He's headed off. Not a week or so.
Oh. Hey, good morning.
My son, totally helpless there. 4 women in the house and him, and no guys to give a hand. 4 women.
107A. Discussing the laws of washing hands and different details. And then we'll get into some famous meat and milk questions. Morning. Amar le Rav Sheshes le'amimar. This way. 7. Okay. Let's see. 1 second. We're up to smack in the middle. Amar le Rav Sheshes le'amimar. Amar le Rav Sheshes le'amimar. Let's find it. Oh, right here. It's right in the middle. Yeah. Right here. Okay. Amalei Rav Sheshes le'amimar. Rav Sheshes asked Rav Meimar, Kepedaso amana, are you makpid? Are you stringent to use a vessel when you wash your hands? Amalei in, yes. Achazusa, on the appearance of the water, are you stringent? That should look like water, not like something else. Amalei in, yes. Ashiura, are you stringent about a revius? That the vessel has to contain a revius? It has to be that much water inside? Amalei in, yes. Iki de Amri, some say he asked like this, Haki Amalei. Amana va'achazusa kabdinan, ashiura lo kabdinan. So some say that he asked him the vessel and the appearance he was stringent on, but the amount he was not stringent on. It didn't have to contain that. The Tanan may revius, notan liadayim, liachalav filishnaim. Look, the Mishnah said you could have a revius of water in a vessel, and you could wash for 1 or for 2 people. Now, obviously, guy number 2, the second person, doesn't have a revius of water because it was already used by the first guy. So you see that you don't need a revius of water for guy number 2. Not that much. I forgot how many fluid ounces. I don't remember. Yeah. So, something like that. Could be. The calculations don't go so well. I have to look it up every time. Yeah. So that's the honest answer. So says Mara, no. That's not a proof because there's a difference between not requiring a revius and if you had a revius originally and now there's less. So we're assuming that you're not strict on the measurement at all. So this Mishnah doesn't prove your point that you're not stringent at all on the measurement. All the Mishnah says if you had a revius originally and now there's less than a revius, second person could wash their hands. But let's say you had a case when there was never a revius in the cup. We never said that's okay. There had to have been at some point a revius in the cup. The second guy is using water that had a vessel that had a revius in it. Right now, practically there's less, but at one point it had a revius in it. So that you can't bring a proof from that Mishnah. So maybe everyone agrees that originally you always have to have a revius of water in the vessel. Iskin Rav Yaakov Minar Pekud. Not Labas Rav Yasser. We have three one-liners that they would make vessels that held the revius. Everyone knows how much water they need. So he would make a vessel in his locale that this is how much a revius is. You know, we have normal cups now or whatever. How much is the regular cup? 8 ounces, right? We have that. And we have gallons of water, and we have liters of water, and we have all these measurements. So they didn't have that. So I did one time see cups being sold in Israel where it has like half a revius like on the cup. That was the tape measure was like Tfachim, Amos. Yeah. So So either way, he made, so everyone should see this is how much we need. It's fine. Iskin Rav Ashi Behutzal. I skipped. No. Iskin Rav Ashi Behutzal. Kuza Basar Vyasa. Not 3-2, sorry. So he made a vessel that was a revius, and Rav Ashi Behutzal made a Kuza Basar Vyasa. It was an earthenware vessel that held the revius. V'amar Rava migupas chavetz shetikna notlim mimenoli a dime. So a migupa is the way they would cover a flask of wine. So they would put this big cover on it and clay it on very tightly. That's how we cover the flask. So this cover, I guess, was enough of a receptacle there that sometimes would be used to hold water. So Rava says migupas chavetz shetikna notlim mimenoli a dime, that you could use shetikna doesn't mean here established, but it means it was like dug out. Meaning a cover of a barrel was a big piece of clay. So if you would carve it out and it would hold water, so the novelty is that we require a vessel. Now you would think a vessel is a vessel primarily used for washing. This vessel is primarily used for covering wine. But still, if you were to dig it out, then it's a vessel which is often used for wine and sometimes used for washing. That's fine. Yeah. So even though it wasn't created originally with a hole in it, but you dug it out and now you use it for water, that's fine too. Will be a good modern day example. Keep it? No. But it has something which is used, just like I take the tissues out of here, I fill up with water. This is not a vessel for washing. It has to be something which is used every so often for a secondary purpose. So, chemas tainami hachi migufas chavis shetikna, a cover of a barrel that gets carved out. Notlan mimenu le'adayim, you can use it to wash your hands. Chemas ukfisha shetiknan. Chemas ukfisha, different like bottles made out of skin bottles, yeah, skins of animals, leather bottles, fancy, right? Leather bottles. So those that are also carved out are also noten manly a dime. You could also use them to wash your hands. Now, what can you not use? Like our tissue box example, sack, just a sack, or a kupa, a box. Just because just because they're makabel, they receive water, does not mean that you could use them for washing your hands, because it wasn't made for that purpose.
They're incapable.
So why are they incapable?
Even after modification, are not considered water vessels. They're generally incapable of holding water.
They're generally incapable, right? It's interesting. I would think even though if they're generally capable, but they're not used for that, so it doesn't get a status of a vessel for washing your hands either. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now a bunch of questions about this. All the halakhas about washing hands when they instituted this institution. So, let's see. We had a bunch of questions. We're gonna have a bunch of questions. Ibailuhu. So the whole reason why they instituted was we said because of srach truma and mishum mitzvah. Srach truma was since people eat truma, you want to keep the hands clean and pure, and therefore even when you eat mundane, you're gonna have to wash your hands. So, it's like you imagine someone in the class asking this question: what if you eat with gloves?
Right.
Don't use your hands. What about that? So that's it. That's what asking. Ibailuhu mahu lechol b'mappa. Can you eat with a mappa? Mappa is a cloth. Yeah, thank you. So, right, it can be very common. You're traveling somewhere, right? You're in the middle of the desert. You're traveling. You need to eat bread, and you don't have water. Or you're in an airplane. Why can't you go to the bathroom and wash?
Well, you need a cup.
I always ask for a cup.
Do you?
Yeah. Okay. Or we said that you could use a sink, but it has to be. You have to press it for each washing. The water has to come from your force. Yeah. Now, ideally, one should not do this in the bathroom. This is always in Yeshiva University a problem. You're in the library studying, and you bring your lunch, and you want to wash your bread. The only washing station is in the bathroom, right? So ideally we don't do it, but But if you're stuck, you're stuck.
I just don't bring bread.
You just don't bread, right. Yeah. I just take the guy next to me on the plane when he's not looking. I take his water and wash. So, where's my water? I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Take a soup, yeah. Right. Bottle works. Sure. Are we still worried that somehow, even with the cloth, you might slip and touch it? So it's not as good as gloves, but it's the cloth. Olo. So let's see. Tashma. We're going to think we have a proof from Rabbi Tzadok, but turns out it's not going to be a proof. So on Sukkot, they gave Rabbi Tzadok some bread. Rabbi Tzadok, what did he do? So here Rabbi Tzadok sitting in a sukkah, everyone came to visit him, and you watched his, who knows who, maybe his wife or his servant or who knows who gave him some bread. And everyone's watching, poor guy, everyone's staring at him eating, right? So what did he do? He did a few interesting things. First of all, Ochel Pakos Mikabetza. He ate less than an egg's worth of bread, okay? Notlo Mamapa. He used a cloth. V'ochlo chutz l'sukkah. And he was eating this outside the sukkah. Oh. Bread outside the sukkah. So, and the Eid Mevarach Acham, he didn't bench afterwards. And he was not demoted from his job. Yeah, so now, 1 second. So he did all these things on sukkah. So, what do you see from here? It's because he ate less than a kibetza, less than a egg's worth of bread. That's why he didn't wash. That's why the measurement that we need for washing. But if he would have eaten more than that, of course he would have washed and not used the cloth. So ma'ilav hakibetza b'yin hills dayim. Don't you see that a betza, it would not be enough to use a cloth? Why else was he using a cloth? It must be just less than the required amount. When they established washing, they also established it for a certain amount. So says the Gemara, no. Really, Dilma, ha kibetza ba'i sukkah u'ba'i bracha. Really, the reason why he ate less, the reason why he ended up eating less than a egg's worth was because he was outside the sukkah. If you were to have more than that, it would require a sukkah. So now he was using a cloth, but you don't see that if he had more than an egg's worth, he still wouldn't use the cloth. You don't know. He was using a cloth because it was less than an egg's worth. Now you want to infer if it was more than an egg's worth, he would not use a cloth. No, you don't know that. The reason why he's using less than an egg's worth was just because he's outside the sukkah. That's all you see from the story. No. What would happen if he would be more than egg's worth? So first of all, he would eat it in a sukkah. What would he do about a cloth? Don't know. Good question. Remains unanswered. I don't know. But you can bring a proof from the story. Tashma. So let's try another answer to this question about does a cloth help or not. Yeah. Tashma. I'm just wondering if it's brought down. I don't remember. Let's say you're stuck somewhere and you can't wash, but you just want to have a few bites. Can you ideally do that? Ideally, no. You wash and you have enough bread. But if you're stuck, you're stuck. I'm wondering. I don't know. Tashma de Shmuel. Ashkachei l'Rav. Dika'achil b'mapa. So Shmuel found Rav. He was eating with a cloth. Amrlei. So Shmuel asked Rav. Next page. Avadin kedin. Right? They had no problem rebuking each other, asking what they're doing. And the guy didn't get offended. He's still going to be your friend, countercultural, yeah. So Avdin Kedin, he said, "It's not. Is that proper? Are you doing that properly? Eating with a cloth? We don't eat with cloths." So Amrlei, Daiti Ktsara Alai. No. I just I'm finicky. What's the word? I'm fastidious. Fastidious. It's called an istinus in Hebrew. I'm a clean guy. I don't. There's a icky, it's dirty. I don't like it. So, what is that?
Yeah, modern times. If you're wearing nitrile gloves.
Right. Yeah. They're all like Rav. So, yeah. So, when you serve, you don't want to use your hands, your fingers. So, it's icky. So, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Okay. Ki Solik, when Rabbi Zera, when he went up to Eretz Yisrael, he found Ashkachinu Rabbi Amin Ravasi. He found Rabbi Amin Ravasi. And what were they doing? The Ka'achli b'Babli Amasos. It's the worn out skins. Yeah. They were eating while holding the food with the worn out skins. So Omar, he said, Trey, Gavri, Ravri, Kivasayu, Litu, B'derav, V'Shmuel. You two think, we're doing like Rav and Shmuel in Babylon. Our Rebbeim are doing, they used cloths, or at least Rav used the cloth, and therefore if we use the cloth, and we don't have to wash. We get around the Jew washing phobia, right? Jews are like scared of washing and benching. It's like too much. So avoid it all costs. So he said, no, you misunderstood. He said, you misunderstood because Hadai Tiktzara. The reason why Hadai Tiktzara Kamar. So the reason why he ate with the cloth was because Litu b'derav. Sorry, b'derav. They messed up in Rav. With Shmuel b'derav v'Shmuel had daitik tzara kamar, meaning with Rav and Shmuel. They heard a story of Shmuel came to Rav, and Rav was eating with the cloth, and Shmuel said, "What are you doing?" And then that was the end. But they didn't hear the point was that Shmuel said, Rav told Shmuel back, "No, it's because I'm a finicky guy. I don't want to touch my hands to the food. That's why." So how the daitik tzara kamar ishtam tise, meaning that part slipped your mind. That part you forgot. So now, no, sorry. Now, Ishtamit say the Amar Rav Tachlifa bar Ravimi Amar Shmuel, but they forgot about what Rav Tachlifa bar Ravimi Amar Shmuel said. Hitiru mapal okle truma below hitiru mapal okle doros. They allowed using a cloth for the eaters of the truma. They did not allow using a cloth for the eaters of pure food, meaning there were a lot of people that would only eat food in its state of purity. I mean, even though if you're not a Kohen or whatever it is, then you're good to go. You can eat food even if it's contaminated; it doesn't matter. But there were people that were stringent upon themselves that would only eat pure food. So Rav Ami, Rabbi Asi, Kohanim Havu, and Rav Ami and Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were Kohanim. So that which Rabbi Zera saw and commented that you messed up on Rav. You thought he was eating it with a cloth because he don't want to wash or because there's no water around. No, because he just don't want to touch the food. But what Rabbi Zera didn't realize was that Shmuel himself said that when you're eating truma and you're using a cloth, that's fine. It's just if you're eating food in a state of purity, it's not fine. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were Kohanim. Kohanim, they're eating truma, can use a cloth. Yeah. Okay. Now, that's one deal with the cloth. Maybe we should do a practical halacha or type it up or something, because it really comes in handy sometimes. So, okay. And next question was, so the guy that eats the bread has to wash. How about the guy that feeds the bread? The bread feeder, right? So you sit like a king. Yeah, Jules, next time you visit your kids and grandkids, you tell them, listen, I learned I'm going to sit back and you feed me. First of all, I can stay in my tent, I have to get up and wash. Yeah. Second of all, it's good for you to respect your parents and grandparents. So, and third of all, you get to feel like a king. So, and fourth of all, John will laugh at you. No. So that's the question. Good. That's exactly it. Very good. Eating while you're being fed, is that need an Netilas Yadayim or not? Yeah, exactly. The whole thing was you might touch truma. Truma, if you're and your hands are impure, you're going to touch truma. So if you're going to say like that, then it sounds like anybody touching bread should always wash. But the problem is, if how far did we go in the enactment? Meaning me, who's eating the bread, have to make sure I have clean hands. Fine. The guy who's feeding me, he's not eating it. So we should make him wash hands if he's feeding me. How far did the rabbinic enactment go? So can you imagine this was true? Let's see if it is true. Maybe it is. Rav Huna, the son of Schora, was standing by Rav Hamnuna. So Balim le umtza ve'achil. So Balim is he cut him. He cut him a piece of meat, and he fed him.
Roasted in coals.
Roasted in coals.
Roasted a piece of meat with meat coals.
Oh, it's funny. Rashi has two interpretations what the word Balim means. And the article chose the second one. Oh, that's one that Rashi likes more. The first one is in Balim means to cut, and the second one is Balmei umtza means hatmana megacholam. Yeah, he means he put into coals. Good. So, okay, he put into coals, and he roasted it for him, and he fed him. So Amar Lei told him, "Ilav Rav Hamnuna at lo safina lach." So if you weren't Rav Hamnuna, I wouldn't have fed you. So my timer. Why? Lav yishum dezahir below naga. Is it not because we know that Rav Hamnuna himself is very zahir, very cautious, and he wouldn't touch it? Now it's funny because we're not. Is there bread here?
Yes.
Oh, Tosa says, okay. The top Tosa says 3 words. It says Balmei umta, Perush, Upas Ima, and it comes with bread. Right, I was about to say, for your regular barbecue, where you want someone to feed you, you don't have to wash. But yeah, there's bread there. So now he's saying, if you weren't such a great guy and you weren't so stringent in Jewish law, I would not have fed you. But it's because you're so cautious, Zahir, below Naga, and therefore you're not going to touch it. So it says the Gemara, so you see a proof that you could feed someone, at least someone like his stature. It says the Gemara, look, he wasn't a Zahir, he was cautious. He was a Zaritz. He had alacrity. He washed hands already beforehand. Before you showed up, I washed my hands. I washed already. So, lo, the Zariz kadam umashiyada mi kara. So, a Zariz is someone who already, 2 kinds of people. When you're in the moment, you're very careful. It's another person who prepares ahead of time already. Everything's prepared ahead of time. So a Zariz.
Those guys that wash when they wake up in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully all of us do that. But yeah. So yeah. But a Zariz. Right, he washed beforehand already, knowing he's going to have bread. One second, maybe you're right. Hold on. One second. Yeah, is that what it means here? He washed already in the morning? No, but he always washed in the morning.
Yeah, but those
It's like earlier that they had intent to do it. Right.
The rest of the day.
So it means here that he already washed and kept his hands clean. So Amar Rav, Tashma, Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav. So Rav Zera said in the name of Rav, Lo yitin adam prusa l'tok piv shel shamish. Okay, so now we have the shamish. We have the servant. He'll be a busy table, lots of people. He hired help. So he has all these halachas he has. He has by the Pesach Seder halachas. So here also, don't stop in the middle of the meal. And, I don't know if a Portlander would be able to deal with this. Come on, right? Don't stop and be super friendly to the waiter and give him food in his mouth. Unless you know, unless you know he washed his hands, right? So, because first of all, you're there talking to the shamash. He's on the clock working. So you're being nice to him and he's stealing time from everybody else. Number 2 is you don't know if he washed hands or not. So he's got to wash his hands. Oh, the shamish mivarich al kol kos v'kos. Every cup that the shamish drinks, he has to make a new blessing because there's no such thing by a shamish is I made a blessing once and then I'll just have in mind the rest of because he doesn't know what's going to be. There's no set. He's not set in his drink. He's not sitting down and eating and then drinking. He's running around. So he doesn't know this is the last cup. Who's going to need me? When's the next time I'm going to drink? When do I have a break? He doesn't know. The eno mevarich al kol prusa. And also, he doesn't make a blessing on every bite.
What if the waiter is not a Jew?
No, he's a Jew. That's why he has all these halachas. If he's a non-Jew, we can. Yeah. I'll call prusa. He doesn't make a blessing on every piece of bread, right? He does not recite on each and every piece. No, look at the line before. That's the next one. Yes, what's line before? He doesn't. Why? Because he knows that they're not going to prevent from giving him bread. They know he's going to get bread. So he makes a bracha on the first piece of bread. He knows people are going to give him bread. That he's sure about. So he doesn't make a new bracha. Drinking, he doesn't know. Who's going to feed him? Who's going to give him any drink? That he's not sure about. So every time a cup comes your way, he makes a new bracha. Just doesn't know. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar no. Mevarech hakol prusa. Rabbi Yochanan says no. He does make a blessing on each and every prusa. Now, what do you see from here? That what do you see from here as related to our question of do you have to wash when you're feeding? So, so let's see. So people are giving the shamish bread. Now you can only give him bread if you know that he washed. So let's see. Amar of Papa. So Bishma de Rav v'Rebbi Yochanan lo kasha. So Rav, who says you only give him bread if he's washed, or Rabbi Yochanan, who says he has to make a bracha on each and every piece of bread, lo kasha. It's not a difficulty. Ha de'ika adam chashuv, ha deleka adam chashuv. So, if there's an important person at the meal, so then the shamish is guaranteed. He in his head knows he'll get bread. Very interesting. The chashuv person, the important person, the big Torah scholar at the meal, if the shamish is at a meal with many people, he knows that Torah scholar is going to give him bread. He's for sure going to feed him. So therefore, he's going to wash, and he's going to make a blessing.
The distinguished person is going to give him the bread, or is he going to get the bread maybe from the host because the distinguished person?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's trying to show off. By the way, I don't think it makes any difference.
That's interesting. Maybe it's like you're saying. I didn't know that. Since there's an important person at the meal, there's enough bread to go around. The shamish will get. Here they explain is that the shamish himself is an important person. Mentioned the Rabbeinu Gershom says, not Rashi. Rashi sounds like if at the meal there's an important person. Rabbeinu Gershom says if the shamish is an important person.
Yeah, they kind of take 2 words to say.
Yeah.
When there's a distinguished person, according to the Torah scholar, who knows no one's obligated to offer the weight of bread. The waiter will make sure the distinguished person will make sure that he gets bread.
Right.
So that's the one answer. The other one is when the meal is prepared for a distinguished person, there's always ample food. And
like you said,
there'll be enough bread.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So in that case, there's not a difficulty because he knows he'll for sure get food. However, what if there is no distinguished person there? You can't give him food unless you know that he washed his hands. So you can't give him food unless you know that the shamish washed his hands. So now, 1 second though, what does that show you? You're feeding the shamish. So our question was, does the feeder have to wash his hands? And we're answering that you can only give the shamish food if the shamish washes his hands. I think the question is that we see that you don't have to wash your hands. Only the shamish has to wash his hands. Does that explain it?
Yeah, they're saying, they're referring back to Yochanan, who said that the waiter recites a blessing on each and every piece of bread that he's given to eat. So they're not really talking about washing the hands.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Brains off. Yeah. What do we see from here? Sorry, the brain's off. Yeah. What we see from here is the waiter has to wash his hands. We're only feeding him if he washes his hands. Why does he have to wash his hands? He's not eating he's not touching the food. He's being fed. They're putting food in his mouth. And yet we see that the person has to wash. Even if I'm not touching the food, I still have to wash. So So I think I yeah. I misspoke before. That's why I got confused. The question originally was not if the feeder has to wash his hands. I was wrong. It's that if a person is getting fed, does he have to wash his hands? That was the question of the Gemara. Not the feeder, the guy putting the food in. That for sure he doesn't have to wash. It's if I'm being fed by somebody else, I'm not touching the bread. Just like using a cloth, same kind of idea. I'm not touching the bread. Are we worried I might touch the bread or I might not touch the bread? Okay, that's I confused myself. So that was the original question. Somebody being fed by somebody else. Reuben is feeding Shimon. Does Shimon have to wash? Yes or no? Bring a whole story here, and now we're showing that a shamish, a servant at the meal, he can only be fed as long as you know he washed his hands. Why? He's not touching the food. Oh, you see that even someone who's not going to touch the food, or someone that likely won't touch the food, we have to make sure that he washes his hands, and we're not going to feed him unless we know he washed his hands. Says the Gemara, you can't bring a proof from the shamish because a shamish is very busy. There's a very good chance that he touches stuff without even realizing. He's running around serving food to everybody. There's a good chance that he's going to touch the food. He's touching it. He touched food already. So shiny shamish a turf. You can't bring a proof to a regular case from a shamish who's serving people because you could easily forget that he touches the food. So therefore, we have to make sure that he washes his hands because he's busy. He is busy touching food. So no proof from a shamish. Now, Tana Rabbanan. Once we mentioned a shamish, so lo yitin adam proof of the shamish bein shakos beado bein shakos biachol balabais shema yera davar kakola besuda. Now, this is parenthetical. A person should not give food to the shamish when the shamish is holding a cup of wine, let's say, or when the balabais, the host, is holding a cup either. Why? Because we're nervous. He's going to be focused on if he's going to spill his wine. And then what's going to happen is the balabais, the host, is going to be upset because he spilled the wine because he focused on the food, and then he might choke. So if you should not feed the shamish food while he's holding wine, because if he spills that wine, so then the balabais can get very upset at him, and then he's going to potentially choke on the wine that he's drinking. That's one. But the second one is that the owner, the host, is also going to be worried that there might not be enough bread for his guests. Here you are, he prepared a whole meal for everybody. Exactly, 10 loaves of bread for 10 people. And someone's giving food to the shamish. He's going to get upset now because there might not be enough bread left over. So Rashi brings both things. First, he might get upset. And even without that, he might be upset because he sees that there's giving away bread, but there might not be enough bread for everybody. So he might spill his own bread, spill his own cup of wine, and then that would be a problem. So don't give to the shamish. So at least when he's holding a cup. Shema yera davar kalkola besuda. The hashamish shul. Yeah. The hashamish shlo not the yadav also litan l'tos piv. A servant, the shamish, who didn't wash his hands, you cannot put bread into his mouth. Yeah.
So they're saying literally into the mouth as opposed to handing it to him.
Yeah, into the mouth. Yeah. Okay. Now, Ibailahu, Machil Tzarich Netilas Yadayim O Eino Tzarich. So this is what I thought was earlier. It's the same. Yeah. Before it was Ochel Machmas Michael, eating by being fed. Now we're asking about the feeder. Does the feeder have to wash his hands? So Ibailu, Michael Tzarich Dilas Yadayim Olo. Eino Tzarich. So Tashman, Tani the Bemenash Rabbi Shemel Omer, Isha Medicha is Yada Akas B'Mayim V'Nosenes Pasla B'Nakatan. She washes her hands with water and gives bread to her son. Even the person feeding the bread did have to wash. Amru alav al shamay azakin shlarata la'achil biyadu achas. The gazru alav sheyachil b'shtei yadav. So they said about Shammai the elder that he didn't want to feed with one hand. So they decreed that meaning he didn't even want to wash one hand. Even if he was feeding with one hand, he did not want to wash when he's giving the food to the child. Now the background is that this is happening on Yom Kippur. So a woman on Yom Kippur washed her hand to feed to the child. Even though it's also to wash your hands, but they allowed it for a woman who's touching bread. Now Rabbi Shammai on Yom Kippur did not want to wash his hands even one hand to give bread to the child. So therefore, whatever, and he wouldn't be the feeder. Someone else would feed him. But what do you see? A feeder has to wash his hands. So they decreed v'gazru alav sheyochal b'shtei yadav, that he should feed the child on Yom Kippur with two hands, because they wanted the child to be fed. So Amar Abaye, no, Hasam Mishum Shifta. The reason why you have to wash your hands over there is not because of the bread, is because of this demon or this bad spirit called Shifta, which is the bad spirit that rests on the hands in the morning. In the morning, one of the three reasons why we wash hands in the morning, this is one of them, because the bad spirit's there. But if you wash hands in the morning, so then even if you weren't so careful and you want to go feed your friend, you don't need to wash. You don't need to wash. If you're feeding, you don't need to wash. The reason why they washed over there in the story was because, or on Yom Kippur, that they had to wash was because it was the morning. It was the morning Ruach Ra, evil spirit, not the washing for the bread. Tashma de Avua de Shmuel, the father of Shmuel found Shmuel, Eshke de Shmuel, the Kabachi. Shmuel was crying. This is a good one. Amrle amai kabachis. Why are you crying? He said, Demachian Rebbe. My Rebbe hit me. Yeah, whack. So, amai. Why did he hit you? The Amarli, because he told me, Kasapis Libre, Velo Mashis Yade. I was feeding my child. I didn't wash my hands. I was feeding my child bread, and I didn't wash my hands. So he asked him, Amai lo mashis, why didn't you wash your hands? So Amarle, what do you mean? Who achil v'ana mashina? He's eating, I should wash? The eater washes, not the feeder. So Amarle, lo mistayed lo gamir. So he said, Amarle lo mistayed de lo gamir. So it's clear that your Rebbe was not such an expert in Netilas Yadayim. Lo mistayed lo gamir. Mimcha nami. Not only was he not an expert, and he made a mistake, but he also hit you. So that's two no-nos. First of all, he didn't know the halacha, and number two, he hit you. The hilchasa halacha is ochel machmas machel, eating while being fed. The eater has to wash. Tzarich netilas yadayim. Michael, the feeder, tzarich netilas yadayim, but the feeder does not need to wash his hands. So rare Adam, famous. This is where famous, more famous. This is the source. So rare Adam, basar uvina b'matpakas akas b'vakshu yu nogin zebazet. You could wrap up the meat and the cheese in one cloth, but they shouldn't be touching each other. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer shnei achsayin ochlin al shulchan echad. Two guests in an inn are visiting and they're eating on one table. Zeb basar zekvina ve'ein choshin, no problem. Meaning, two strangers eating at the same table. You can have meat, I can have cheese. We're not worried. I might come take from your plate, or you might come take from my plate. Yeah, you keep it to yourself. Clearly, the mission was written in New York. No, so in this part of the world, you'll be friends in a minute. So nice. Can I try some? No, bet. So just one more line is that why can't they touch each other, the meat and the milk? Oh, don't touch meat and milk. Why not? It's cold. You're going on your trip. It's a cold meat and cold milk. Nothing happens. Only heat transfers. So, you're right. Klipa, the outer layer, where it's going to absorb taste, that takes heat. But you still got to rinse it off. I mean, when two things touch each other, there's still some moist or something can go over on the most outer layer. So, even though this is important, even though we always keep saying only heat transfers, primarily heat transfers. But if two things touch, you still got to wash it off. Because, I mean, something can go on. Some of the outer layer can go onto the outer layer. So therefore, if you're going to wrap it up together, in a Ziploc bag, just make sure that they're not touching each other. What's the problem? There's a problem. Okay.
Oh, that's it.